Well, I just got done seeing Morbius, and man, this was not worth the wait. Tons of delays, and the best way I can equivalent this movie is it's a Taco Bell. Like, sometimes we go to Taco Bell or Jack in the Box or McDonald's and we have a great meal, and it's fast-paced and it's fun. Like Venom. Then sometimes you go there and it's trash. They mess up your order, you get food poisoning, and you're pissed that you went inside. Whew! That's kind of how I feel about Morbius. I have a lot of things to say. Couple things might be positive, but overall, this is not a good movie. What's going on, buddy? Welcome back to a brand new movie review. Today, we're going to be discussing Morbius. This is the brand new addition to the Spider-Man Cinematic Universe that was set up with Venom, and it's about biochemist Michael Morbius, who tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but he actually infects himself with a form of vampire and instead turns into a monster. This is directed by Daniel Espinosa, and it is also starring the likes of Jared Leto, Michael Keaton, Jared Harris, Tyrese Gibson, Matt Smith, and Adria Arjona. Now, here's my thing that I really want to place out with this. I mentioned Michael Keaton because he was in the first trailer for this. It blew everyone's minds when we saw that trailer like 2.5 years ago. And I was like, well, what's going to happen with this? Is this connecting with the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe? And I have a lot of things to say with how they marketed this movie, because every single scene that you saw with Vulture is not in this movie anymore. There are scenes with him now in here that are completely different, but as well as all the references to Spider-Man are true. They are barely in here. There's still a couple Easter eggs here and there, but they are so subtle that if you're not a fan, you're not going to notice it. You know that graffiti we saw in the trailer? Not there. And this is overall a non-spoiler review. I'm not going to dive into what the end credit scenes are. I'm not going to dive into any of the big spoilerish moments, but I will be talking about things that have been seen in the trailers and certain things that do equivalent back to what Sony has done with not just this movie, but many of their other, say, misfires, quote-unquote, or in general just movies that should have been better, because I think there was something great in Morbius there, but it's not good. And this is a movie that frustrated me equivalently and also bored me. It was dull in a lot of its different styles and what it was trying to do, and overall, there's a lot of problems with this film, and I still can say that some people will enjoy this. And if you're one of them, I'm so happy you did. So make sure to leave a comment if you guys enjoyed this movie, if you didn't, as well as hit that like and subscribe button so we can keep talking movies and TV over here on a daily basis, because that's my favorite thing to do. I'm a geek, and if you are as well, you are certainly in the right place. Starting with my pros, because I do like talking about film appreciation, and there was some decent things to this movie. It's Jared Leto. He is good as Morbius. For the character that was written, he did good and actually rose above the material here. If it wasn't for an Oscar caliber level actor, who, again, haven't liked the last few performances he's done, he actually really fits to this role of Morbius, and I dug that. As well as Matt Smith is having such a darn good time in here. He is like completely in a different movie, it seems, but his character has the chemistry, the style, and the charisma that you want to see in a fun comic book movie like this. Because many people will be like, well, is it even like Venom? Where Venom's not a great made movie, but there is some fun to be had in there. It's not like that. It's a very different tone and style that this film is equivalated to, even though it does take place in the same universe, like the studios have all talked about. But Matt Smith, easily the best part about this. As well as Adria, I thought she was fantastic as a great piece in the right-hand woman right next to Jared Leto. I thought that was just great. Jared Harris actually surprised me as well. For the few scenes he got, there was some good moments in there. And Tyrese Gibson, I mean, he's fine for what it is. He's barely in the movie. And the same thing can be said for Michael Keaton. He's literally barely in the movie. I knew it. The second I saw that trailer, I'm like, that's probably going to be the ending of the film. Like, that's either the ending of the movie or just a small little cameo that they had to show us so people would go see the film. Before I get too far ahead of myself, my last thing I do want to give the film where it is said is the concept itself of Morbius. There is actually something good here. I do like the character of Morbius from the comics. I think what they were trying to equivalate here is not bad, but it's also not great, and it just seems very lacking, and it feels rushed in execution when it comes down to the script. It seems like a couple more rewrites really could have gotten something different here. A monster movie, say in the vein of how they handled Swamp Thing on the DC Universe app. If you ever watched that show, that was great. This is the same way that you probably could have handled Morbius in making this a monster movie. I will say the visual effects, while not perfect, and there are definitely a lot of not good moments, the visuals of Morbius and how he looks in and some of the fighting mechanisms of him, I actually dug. I will not lie about that. I thought it was cool in the trailer, and I thought it was cool in the movie. But it's so far and few between, as sometimes the CGI will definitely take you out of the experience. Speaking about the experience, I do think I need to mention this, and I think it is something that many moviegoers need to understand, is that a lot of stuff you see in the trailers is not there. People get frustrated by this all the time. A lot of the references and kind of really building up is, okay, what is this next step into the Spider-Man Cinematic Universe? What are they doing in here? We have Madam Web coming up. We have Kraven coming up. Of course, probably another Venom movie, another Spider-Man movie, and of course, the Olivia Wilde directed Spider-Woman movie that she's making. There's so many different movies that they're making, and this very much felt like, okay, from the trailer, it feels like you're selling me that this will be the next evolution, that next chapter. How is this going to set up? The setup in here, it's a minute. It's literally a minute, and I did not like it. That is the post-credit scene, I will say. The post-credit scenes are absolutely illogical in the way that they are executed and make no sense to what has already been set up into the world, and especially how they are set up, because there's two of them. I'm not getting into spoilers, but they were frustrating to watch. And it comes after watching already a frustrating film, where it makes you look back at Venom 2's post-credit scene, which Venom 2 was entertaining for what it was, but then you see the post-credit scene, it's like, oh, this is great, and then obviously we saw Spider-Man No Way Home, and we're like, okay, well, what does that even justify? I think the same thing needs to be said here, is that they're trying to set up something, and it's the same issue they were running into with the Amazing Spider-Man series. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 has good ideas, but it just feels rushed, where Morbius doesn't feel like it's its own standalone thing until it wants to tie in, and then when it wants to tie in, you lied to the people seeing the trailers, who saw a Spider-Man graffiti in the back, who saw Vulture in there, who expect these different things to maybe tie in and further out this universe. And in the way they did, I thought it was terrible. And even speaking on that, when they do focus on the entire film itself, it is also terrible. The script here is not great. The editing as well, some of the camera sways, the way that it zooms in on certain characters just feels so overly melodramatic that took me out of my experience and really just baffled me at certain scenes. In a sense, this movie is a mix of the very first Venom, where it's Venom versus another symbiote, and as well as the Amazing Spider-Man 2 whole entire subplot of Harry wanting Peter's or Spider-Man's blood so that way he can be cured. I shit you not, that is the same plot. Take both those movies, mix them together, it's the same thing here, but definitely not fleshed out and very rushed. It's character development, all that sorts of things, it's not there, it's missing. And the finale, I timed this because I was genuinely like, wonder how much is left in the movie. I knew how long the film was, looked, saw that there was 20 minutes left, and I know at least 10 of that is going to be credits. And they summed this shit up in 12 minutes. How a film should be, it builds, climax happens, oh yeah, this is amazing, boom!
She said.
No, that was definitely a Michael Scott joke right there. That is what she said, but it is true. And it builds up, and it has this great pack, and then it just ends. This film builds, happens, climax, ends. Done. End credit scene. Done. End credit scene again. And for me, frustrating. Boring. Cool moments in the conclusion, but totally rushed in execution. And I don't know where to end with that. Like, that is some of the things that just feels like issues in here. It feels like the story was rushed. It feels like, while it was an hour and 45 minutes, it just feels like there was not a cohesive nature of what they wanted to do. It's like, okay, well, we want to be a monster movie, but we also need to be the typical comic book movie. We need to make that. There was definitely a better script that needed to be needed. And I even think Espinosa's directing here is not bad. It's fine. And what he's given is what he directed. It's kind of the same vein that I feel like with the first Venom movie. What was given to Ruben Fleischer is what exactly he directed. And that's kind of how we have it here. And it's sad because Morbius should have been better. This is not a good movie. It's a movie that copies exactly a lot of other films that have already happened. Some great, especially with the score. The score sounds exactly like a ripoff from Dark Knight Returns, and not Dark Knight Returns, Dark Knight Rises, and I will give credit to where credit is due to my friend Ren Geekness, who mentioned the same thing to me. But it's also just a movie that's frustrating. Like, again, some of the action's cool in here, some of the visuals of Morbius are really cool, and I do like when they were going for a monster style here. But when it actually dives into the story, it's not great. When it tries to connect itself to the Spider-Man universe, it's rushed, it makes no sense, and it's illogical. And the post-credit scenes will just leave you baffled and more frustrated. And for me, I just want to see Tom Holland's Spider-Man. That's literally all I care about. I care what about's going in the MCU. I hope the next Venom proves me wrong as well. Again, I think Venom's fun, but I definitely need more from that. I hope Kraven the Hunter's awesome, and I hope Madam Web's great. I'm wishing all of them the best of luck, but as Morbius, I don't care to see a sequel. I don't care to see where this character goes. It just feels very 2000-ish comic book film that we don't get anymore. We definitely don't get movies like this anymore, but not in the great way. Like, when you look at Venom, Venom is a early 2000s comic book movie, but in a fun, cheesy, schlocky way. Morbius is an early 2000s film, like comic book movie, that's not good. And again, it's not even to the point where it's like so bad it's so good. It's just a slog to get through. It's boring, and I am very annoyed at this movie. This is not good. Oh, I'm gonna end it there. I don't have much more to say. This is definitely turning more into a ramble and a rant, and more frustration than I probably should have been. I feel like I was lied to with the marketing, and I personally feel like I just don't care. They need a plan on what they're trying to do, because what they're trying to do just made no sense for the character of Michael Morbius by the very end, and so much more, and I just need to stop talking before I spoil anything, because I promise you, if you're excited for this, I hope you like it more than I did. So with all that said, I'm going to give this film a D-. One of my lowest scores that I've given in a while, and I know a lot of you guys know that I'm all about film appreciation. I try to appreciate as much as possible, but I walk out a movie like this, it definitely was not satisfying to me, and I really wish I could come out of this excited. But I'm really just, again, clamoring for that next bit of Tom Holland's Spider-Man and what his character does next. So, overall, guys, thank you so much again for watching this. You guys are really all the best. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Comment down below your thoughts. We can talk spoilers down there. So, if you have seen the movie, let's talk about the post-credit scene. If you haven't seen it yet, be warned on that, because we got to discuss it. I know the film comes out tomorrow, so overall, other than that, make sure to head on over to Sandwich Run Films on how to see films really and get up to date on all the early movie news. But until next time, stay classy.